Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to the Energy Africa Café. If you're joining us for the first time, the Energy Africa Cafe is a storytelling platform that speaks authentically on the different skills surrounding the trilemmas of energy development. The energy trilemma being energy equity, energy security, and environmental sustainability of energy systems in Africa, and what the future looks like for youngsters. My name is Busayo Omofe. I am an energy consultant with a current focus on research, project organization, and capacity building. I am privileged to be your host for today. We have an incredible person on the podcast. Our guest for today is Billy Yarro. Thank you, Billy, for joining us.
Thank you, Busayo, for inviting me to your podcast.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So, just a bit about Billy before we proceed. Billy is the Senior Grants Manager of Bamboo Capital Partners. He is a leading off-grid energy specialist with over 15 years' experience in sustainable power solutions across sub-Saharan Africa. He focuses on productive use of energy, helping farms, fisheries, and small enterprises unlock through clean, decentralized electricity. Billy has shaped financing mechanism and catalyzed multi-million dollar grants that scale off-grid solar and drive rural economic transformation. He has advised governments, development agencies, and investors, blending technical insights with policy advocacy. His work spans Cameroon, Liberia, and beyond, showcasing how targeted energy investments build livelihoods and resilience. Featured in the Africa Solar Industry Association's annual outlook, Billy is recognized as a thought leader in renewable energy innovation. He champions local manufacturing, import duty reforms, and standards that remove barriers to solar adoption. He has demonstrated how access fuels inclusive development through collaboration with Power Africa and USAID. Valued for translating strategy into real-world impact, he guides programs that empowers community and markets alike, reflecting a clear mission to harness energy as a catalyst for prosperity in underserved regions in Nigeria. Wow, Billy, you've set a very high standards for those of us looking to scale up our career in the energy sector. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for the work you're doing in the power sector. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's been a sunny day. Everything's fine.
Thank you so much. So, I would ask you, I'm proceeding to ask you your questions now on this podcast, the main conversation we are having. So I know you've worked a lot in the rural economic development space, and from someone that is very passionate about rural economic development, particularly in Nigeria. There's a huge gap between rural economy and like the urban areas. Development is majorly focused in the urban areas, right? Most of the projects we use in Nigeria are coming from the rural environment. So there's a lot of effort that needs to be intensified in ensuring those economies are sustainable. So Billy, you have worked directly with local communities and advised governments and global donors on energy projects within sub-Saharan Africa. So if you look back at the very first community energy projects you worked on, is there a moment that stays with you and reminds you why this mission matters?
All right. So thank you. Thank you again for inviting me here. In 2009, I remember this was in rural community in Cameroon. So specifically in the community of Bangem, that is really southwest Cameroon near the Twin Lakes. So we were in an exploration phase where we had to introduce solar lanterns and try to figure out how we could scheme a program, an initiative to provide light for all. So the ambition at the time was really to drive lighting, and we found that it was quite simple and easy having just a light to replace kerosene lamps. So when we were exploring, we traveled with some different lanterns in those communities. We were quite surprised that without light, there was life in those communities, but life without light. Having the full enthusiasm from the community, you see the chief of the village who wanted already to purchase the light. So that interest, that impact, that light, which was really bringing the sun to the homes was quite touching for me, and that's where I start being sort of inspired and sort of orientated in making energy access my job, my definite job. And that was in southern Cameroon, but you can imagine during my 15 years of experience, I've visited a lot of countries, a lot of small areas, and unfortunately, it's still the same situation right now. Last year again, I was in Central Africa Republic for a worldwide study, and I was, a bit disappointed that it's still the same situation. And, even the reports and all the data from the World Bank, we are still far from bringing this life to all rural communities. So, yeah, we are still working on that. We are still struggling to push that. We are involved in different initiatives to make it a reality. Everyone with at least a light at their home and live more decently.
Thank you so much, Billy, for that. I think I shared similar feeling with you when you can see the impact of your work in people's lives, when you can see that, wow, I worked on this and this is how it's changing people's lives. So I think you saying that the fact that there's just light alone, the feeling never goes, it matters the most. It's very relatable for me. And I'm sure for several other listeners or other power sector specialists as well. So the next question I'm going to be asking you is still relating to the work you've done, right? But it's more on expectancy. So, across your years of managing off grid energy solutions, you have spent years studying what makes productive use of energy work in rural communities. What is the most expected and unexpected thing you have learned about how rural communities use clean energy when they finally have access? And I think this question I'm asking is very Nigerian listeners, I hope you're paying attention because we keep talking about how we want to scale up productive use of energy. And this is someone who has worked in Cameroon and worked in Liberia, places with similar issues or similar situations with Nigeria. So I think we should be ready to literally pick the nugget is about to drop. So Billy, over to you.
So I was just about to share a bit how I got into the productive use of energy space. I used to work with Practical Action that was back in 2016 in Senegal, covering the West Africa region as an energy advisor. And we had a sister program was the agricultural program. I was managing the energy program. It's a bit funny, you have really agricultural actors who are really in a silos with their programs, with their initiatives, and you have energy programs. And there were a lot of opportunity where energy could sort of support agricultural value chains. And going back to specific experience with Power Africa later on, where I had to manage all the strategies. So we support several companies, some of them in Liberia, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire. In Liberia, so we found we were working with a small local company who was aiming to power fishing communities, providing them solar lanterns to be able to work within the night and to fish within the night. And lanterns was used not just to have attract fish, but also to prevent some accidents during the night. And we have seen a real high uptake to those communities. Uh, and as a complementary to that program, we sort of suggest them to provide solar refrigerators to help them increase post-harvest within those communities. So, what is the impact? We saw a real uptick. We were the one just providing the funding, so we were not the one really implementing the thing. We had several visits where we really sees in those village a change in their habits, a change in their catch, and real increase in their product. I will maybe also name another project. It was with different grantees in those communities, in those areas, where they try to test solar milling into these communities. But the main challenge there was how to build the business case to make it sustainable in those communities. So the company we selected had proposed a sort of hub station, a sort of business station, where in one place they could be the one providing the energy services to the whole communities, and part of the services was including solar milling for the rice industry, for the rice value chain. But not just milling, there was also electric pressure cooker for a small restaurant to be poured within those communities. And because it was a hub, it was welcoming other side activity, other business activities to support their models and provide much more incomes. So in approaching, such technologies in those areas, in those communities, I think one of the key aspects to consider is really find out what should be really profitable for the communities. It's not just about the technologies, because the technology has a cost, which is quite high, as you may know. But it's also about how the companies or how the supporter built the business case to make it really profitable for the community and even for the business itself. So that it's not just a one-shot project that we finance, but it's something which can be replicable into the company's business.
Wow, thank you, Billy, for that. I really, if it's something that like interests me about the work we do is how particular you are about the communities that you work in. It shows how committed you are in getting the work done, which makes you the right person to speak on this podcast concerning productive use of energy and working with rural communities. So the next question I'm going to be asking is on data. So a major problem we have both on grid and off grid is reliable data in the Africa energy market. So reliable data on off grid markets is still a challenge. It's a very big challenge that if we don't tackle right now, it will probably stay forever. And while the world has moved miles ahead, we will still be way behind. So how can stakeholders, especially local companies, collect or access better market intelligence to grow their reach and impact? What is the biggest market barrier to unlocking true productive use of energy adoption in rural communities?
Right. So I think data. The challenge with data collection is that it has a cost. And if we take the perspective of a company who has to deploy in a community, they have to measure the cost before trying to put together a sort of business model or to put a business case. But that said, from my experience, I believe data collection or market intelligence data should be taken in charge by those who are really engaged in enabling the environment, so that, say, you have the government bodies who should have this responsibility, but they can be supported by multilateral agencies like World Bank or Power Africa at the time. So, for example, in Power Africa, what we did to help those companies was to produce a productive use of energy catalogs. So in 12 countries within sub-Saharan Africa, we produced a document to help inform on what are the technologies available on the market, for example, and help, for example, those who want to deploy such technologies knows that, okay, already in this market, there is this technology existing with these characteristics. And based on that, we can sort of provide or deploy technology. Another market intelligence document was market assessment. For example, in Liberia specifically, we did the market assessment to try inform on what are the agricultural value nature and energy needs within agricultural value chains. This is the work we have been seeing done, for example, in Cote d'Ivoire by GIZ. We replicate the same study in Ghana. And you have a lot of actors trying to sort of collect data here and there. But I agree with you, it's quite sort of challenging to know. I mean, if you want to go into a market, straightforward, having the right data and the right intelligence to know how to deploy your strategy. I think this is really lacking. I will share again another experience recently with the whereby we deployed the solar home system market assessment in CAR to try help understand how to design the RDF program. So it was just to try collect data on the ground and assess the ability to pay, assess the willingness to pay, assess maybe existing actors, the strategy barriers that they are encountering, and find out how, subsidy program, result-based financing program could be deployed in that country in the proper manner, I would say. So market intelligence is key. Market intelligence is important. And I think that the real challenge is to find out strategically how to where to find it in the countries. Government should have, at least if they are not able to conduct those studies, they should have a sort of database of intelligence products to have the private sector deploy into these communities that they are willing to deserve. In CAR, you will find in a country where you have some security challenges, you are in some areas where insecurities is really prioritized. Definitely, you will have less company willing to go and meet those communities and try to propose their services. Another challenge might be network connection. You have infrastructure connection. I mean, infrastructure just to reach into those markets. Specifically, when we talk about productive use of energy products, because when you deploy, for example, or when you deploy the technology in those rural areas, you expect the sort of market boom, because the only way you find, I mean, the only way you impact those communities, like you have to see this market and these communities being built in terms of economic stability, have a real economic change in those rural communities. But there's a need to have a sort of interconnection or a sort of mix of partners or institutions working together to try address the problem. So as I'm just saying that you can have an infrastructure problem and you need to find out innovative ways to support or to not only supply the market, but once the product are produced, how to deliver the product on the actual market, which are mostly the urban areas of those communities or of those different areas, I would say.
Thank you so much, Billy. I think something for me that stood out is the importance of data in integrity in designing projects, as you have mentioned. Everything you said, that's something that stands out for me. So the next question I'll be asking is more on emerging trends and models. So if you could bet your entire career on one emerging trend or model that would transform the off-grid energy space in Africa in the next 10 years, what would you bet on? What model, what solution are you going to bet on?
Okay, so models depends on context, and I mean, funny as you will see, I'm actually working on a subject where I try to analyze what are the suitable models based on, from one side, the the market characteristics, and from the other side, fundings or different opportunities to deploy the product, solar home system or solar off-grid product, I would say. So in one area, for example, if you take pay-as-you-go, it can be suitable if you meet, for example, certain, market characteristic. The target can have a certain ability to pay. They can have a sort of purchase power for the product. It can even depend on the different tiers of the product. Like they can be able to access, for example, solar lanterns is not the same ability to pay if you want to access, for example, solar irrigation water pump, solar water pump, or freezers, or solar miller. So I'm sort of working on how to model these different elements to find out, based on market characteristics, based on maybe funding opportunities, what is the models that companies can put together to have a direct profitability, a sort of have a sustainable business in those areas, and also create an impact in those communities. Pay as you go, as you know, has been really fast forward. They have been sort of being pushed, and they have accelerated a lot energy access in rural communities of Africa. And I think it's actually one of the main way to push the technologies. But there is a new trend on energy as a service model, where community doesn't have to pay an upfront cost for the product that they are purchasing, but they are paying like they were paying some electricity bills, monthly costs for the product. And this has a sort of advantage. For example, if you take productive use of energy technologies, you can clearly match the repayment based on the income that is generating to those communities, you know, and companies have to think wise. I know, as I said, there is a financing challenge because, it's quite financial intensive to implement such models. But in a sense where we want to push energy further, we want to reach marginalized communities, we want to reach the real last mile. All these models have to be considered when you want to address energy services. I don't know if this answers your question.
Yeah, it does. It does. Thank you. And I got a sense of understanding because a lot of what you said relates to some of the work I do at Next Table. The last question here, or not the last actually, because you have two more, is what technical or business skills do you believe the next generation of African off-grid professionals need to master urgently to lead this sector forward?
First of all, I would say every skills are really welcome in the energy space. I mean, for example, I came from an environmental background, basically, and I had 1 year of energy, and most of what I do in the energy space is really based on learning on the ground. And when learning on the ground, you have different skill sets which can be combined to just have access to energy. I think if I had to suggest, is really being passionate about seeing energy bring reaching those it needs. I think this is one of the first tool that everyone needs to have, whether you are a lawyer, a financial economist, whether you are regulatory expert, whether you are market development expert, whether you are a real technician, engineer. I think one of the is really to look at the target, to look at those really needs, and find a sort of passion on the best approach and have a holistic view on what needs to be done. So the skills I would mention would be much more broader, like having this holistic approach, having a systemic view of things, always bringing in not just your pure technical engineering or I don't know financial skills into the part, but always have this 360 degrees view on what are the best approach to accelerate the market for energy services. That said, definitely we will need all these technical skills, these engineering skills, and I think even talking of skills, we should have every level. You should not just wait to be a sort of expert engineer to be involved. I think even from a lower stage, there can be some asset you can bring into this dynamic for bringing energy into the off-grid household, off-grid areas, I would say, and not only off-grid. I mean, you can also take it into peri-urban areas where you don't have necessarily an off-grid situation, but you have a weak grid situation, and there as well, you have some needs that need to be fulfilled. You have also some strategy to be implemented. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, key takeaway from me from this point is you don't have to be an expert to start working. You can start working right now. So, yeah.
But you need to link it to one of the skills you have. Actually, I mean,
Yes, yes,
for sure,
definitely. You need
having
to
the
link
back.
it. Yes, yes. Okay,
Mhm.
let me correct myself. You need to start working, but then link it. You don't have to be an expert. You can start picking up skills from what you're doing and try to link it to what you're doing right now so you can now become an expert at it, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Thank you for correcting me. So now, the question I would like to ask, so this is your penultimate question. It says, if you had the chance to switch jobs with someone else in the industry for a day, who would it be and what aspect of your role would you be most excited to try?
Um, there is one guy I really admire, and he's Jude Numfor. He's leading renewable energy innovator in Cameroon. I mean, his experience is quite inspiring because at the time when I was starting, he was trying to build small mini grids using kerosene generators like diesel generators. I'm talking of him because now actually he has like six mini grids operating in Cameroon, and he keeps thinking on the best way to have hundreds of those mini grids spread out within the country. And having being in his shoes would be for me really inspiring. One, I'm really taking those being in touch, direct touch with the communities, facing everyday, day to day challenges on how to best address their needs, on how to restructure, for example, his billing method, his how does he have to make his business sustainable while meeting the needs of the population? Navigating, and I know it's quite challenging for him to navigate through the regulatory framework, the policies, trying to influence it from its voice. And yeah, I, I will be really comfortable being his shoes for one day, running around some of those communities is really experimenting. So yeah.
Uh, okay, maybe we'll have to find a day to maybe bring two of you together on this podcast so you guys can
Yeah,
swap.
I think that would be one of the ideas. I'm really happy to have it.
Okay, thank you. The next question I'm going to ask you is imagine you could invite three historical figures to a dinner party to discuss energy innovation. Who would you invite? And why would you invite them? And what do you think they'll contribute to the conversation at large?
All right, so historical figures. I will start with Obama. Barack Obama. Why? Because he was the one who launched the Pro Africa Dynamic back in, I think, 2015, with a huge ambition to bring power to Africa. We all know the result, and sorry that he got shut down recently. But there was a real dynamic on how we could really provide electricity. Speaking with Obama or having him on the table, maybe we'll have to know what was his dreams by 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 building that program, by putting a lot of energy and a lot of inspiration behind that program, the Power Africa program, I would say. The other one would be, I mean, one of our inspirational figure is Nelson Mandela because he was really having a word of peace, a word of justice. And what we mean by peace is also energy justice. Everyone deserves to have energy at home. Everyone deserves to be able to produce, to live from its earning. Energy should not be a pain for for a human being, basically. And I think having him leading a bit the figure on, you know, what energy justice means, I think that would be the second figure. I think the people in the high tech industry, let's say, for example, Elon Musk,
Ah, okay,
mm,
okay, okay.
you know, yes, Elon Musk, for example, is the true figure of what innovation is. Elon Musk or let's say Mark Zuckerberg, they are true figures of what innovation means. You know, they have been able to, for example, Facebook is one of the fastest growing uh, project on the world, and you know, taking some tips on what has been the skill set or success key to spread their technology within the world. And I think they need to contribute as well to this energy justice, I would say, by putting some intelligence, their intelligence into having everyone to have a better world.
Thank you so much, Billy, for this episode. Thank you so much for giving us this period of your time. I know you're very busy, and the fact that you're able to squeeze us in your schedule just to share your experience, especially to inform younger generations on how they can navigate, the sector, solving issues, especially for those of us particular about rural economic development. This you sharing your insights would mean a lot to us. It means a lot to me already, so I'm sure for the listeners, it will also mean a lot to them. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me on your podcast. I know it hasn't been easy, but yeah, I really appreciate the occasion to
You're welcome. You're welcome.
share a bit.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the lives of the incredible African leaders in sustainable energy. If you enjoyed this series, don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a review. Remember, your voice matters too. Stay tuned for more The Energy Africa Cafe, shaping Africa's energy future. Until next time, have a lovely day. Thank you.